So this thing we do here has multiple names. It's officially on the Mighty Network called Presence Practice. For shorthand, we sometimes say meditation. And ultimately, I believe that what we do here is different from meditation. At least the classic types of meditation. And that what we're doing here is actually a transformational practice. It's a way in which we practice in the moment, experiencing ourselves, and then allowing ourselves to be drawn into surrender, allowing our bodies to teach us how to be drawn into surrender. So back in November, I think I did 4 sessions teaching each stage of this in a row. And I was rearranging that on the Mighty Network and realized that, number 4 is nowhere to be found. So I'm going to do number 4 again tonight. And let me just say the first 3 stages, first of all. The first stage is to drop in. So that's the stage at which we simply stay with our own immediate experience and notice it. And the second stage is a stage in which we deepen our presence, begin to deepen our sense of here. And also very vital, I think, to this process of transformation is that in stage 2, we feel ourselves held. And we practice that sensation of being held. And in the third stage, we allow the breath and noticing how the breath goes through its cycles of drawing in and then releasing. We allow the breath to draw us into surrender, to just kind of move from the physical and watching that and see how it feels like, and then to kind of drift on over into stage 4, which is complete surrender. So let me just say a little something about why we practice. Very simple. We tend to practice the things we aren't good at or we want to get better at. And one thing that we as human beings are not good at is to let go. And there are lots of good reasons that we're not good at letting go. And there are many, many situations in which we should not let go. And so coming from our, mammalian roots, there are things we have to hang on to. But as we've developed and we've become safer and safer in our situations, we still continue to get confused about what we need to hold on to and what we can maybe relax or let go of. And then the problem becomes is that we've practiced for a long time at hanging on, but we really haven't practiced much at letting go. So when it comes time for us to say, I would actually like to let go, we find we don't quite know how. If we have to kind of like, well, how do I let go of that? And so we tend to think, just let go, just let go, just let go. It helps a little bit, but it tends to stay in the mind if we just say, just let go, rather than this actual full body and full being experience of surrender, of letting go. One of our greatest well, I'm sure it's our greatest adversary in surrender and letting go is the ego. The ego wants to keep things the same. And as you hear that, you might say, no, 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 I'm speaking for myself actually here. My ego is always telling me to do the next thing or start the next thing, or you should be, so it's trying to change things up all the time. But what the ego is attempting to have me hold on to is my idea that I need to be doing something. So I need to get better at this. I need to get better at that. So it's holding on to my identity. So much of where we're hanging on to control, or we're hanging on to a certain idea that we have of ourselves. I consider myself somebody who gets things done. So if I don't get anything done, my ego comes under, starts attacking me. And then I have to shore back up. Okay, now I have to get something done so I can feel my identity again, that I'm a person who gets things done. So surrender practices being outside of that whole ego situation. And our stage 4 takes us to this place where we can spend some time feeling ourselves without any of that. And that's if we are able to get to that space. And there's no guarantee that we will. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. Maybe we've never quite gotten there. But all the stages leading up to it are perfect and beautiful practices that also help the ego to begin letting go, holding on less tight, and for us to notice what's actually happening in our process. So tonight I'm going to try to get us to stage 4 quicker than I usually do, so that we can spend a fair amount of time there. I don't want to talk a lot while we're there, so that if you're experiencing that deep surrender, you can just really give yourself to it. So I'm going to remind all of you now, one thing that happens when you hear me say we're moving into surrender, we're going to be here for a while, and you go in there, and then pretty soon you start having thoughts, and then sometimes you start having thoughts about your thoughts, and then you start thinking, I'm not doing this right, and you know what I mean. I'm sure we've all been there. One great practice there is to just notice what you're experiencing. So if that's what happens in stage 4 in surrender, oh, I'm experiencing myself arguing with myself. And then go back to any point, any stage you want to go to. And we'll be going through them, so I'll remind you what the stages are. So don't fight with yourself if you can't quite feel the surrender yet. It's a practice. So let's begin. So make sure you're in whatever position helps you to be both comfortable and alert. And I would like to say here that we practice in love. So just let yourself believe that love is completely present here to all of us and in all of us. That nothing at all that we do will, at any point, will we be separate from love. That's where we begin, and that's where we'll do all of our practice. So in that space of love, Just drop in. Sometimes it's helpful just to imagine like your awareness as a stone that you just drop into your body, your being, and you just let it drop down into the middle of you. And you can feel yourself then begin the practice. You've dropped in. And when we drop in, we usually begin with the physical body, to just notice what the physical body is experiencing. So you can do this a couple of ways. You might just want to allow the body to draw your awareness to different parts of the body and give it your attention for a moment or two. And then listen for a next part of the body. You might want to do a body scan where you start at your feet and just notice as you go up the legs, all the way up to your head. You're looking for what you're experiencing. An important piece is that when you notice what you're experiencing in our practice, we don't attempt to change it. And we do our very best not to judge it as good or bad or right or wrong. It's simply what is here in this moment. And then shifting your awareness towards or into your inner being. Maybe beginning with your heart, your spirit, whatever you feel is arising in your inner self. This does include thoughts, but we're trying not to just focus on the mind. It also includes emotions, the quality of your heart in this moment, maybe those gut intuitions, and then including the physical and the inner, we then become aware of what is surrounding us. So we become aware of the space around us. So starting with the room that you're in, and you're noticing the sounds and the temperature. And it's okay to open your eyes and look around. And feel yourself here. So coming out of just this separate body and self with this name that we carry around, letting yourself extend out into being in the world, in this room, and then also extending farther out and locating yourself in your geography, where you are on the earth. And so having this much wider experience of you, of your being, that you're both. Now we're moving into stage 2. And I invite you to now drop your awareness to the space between your feet and the floor. If your feet on the floor, noticing the space between your body and whatever it's seated upon. And you're going to attempt to just let your awareness float there between your foot and the floor. And just hold it there and notice what you experience there. Notice what you feel just in that one space. So now becoming aware that the bottom of your foot is being acted upon by gravity. And with practice and attention, you can actually sense the drawing of your foot onto the floor and also deep into the earth. And that gravity is actually holding you here in place. So as I mention occasionally, this is very different than when we sometimes are told to root ourselves into the ground. Turning that around and saying the ground, the earth is pulling you into itself. You don't have to do anything. You're held. And when we know we are held like that, we can relax. We don't have to hold ourselves. So our muscles can relax, our belly, our face. And we still stay here, rooted, grounded in the earth. So what's important here is to feel what it's like to be held here. Feeling your own experience of being held. So gravity is considered a universal law of physics. That means it is at work in every corner of the entire universe. And my belief is that love is also at work, and that it is also a force in the universe, and that love is also holding us. And when we know we are held in love, we can deeply relax. And notice yourself becoming deeply present here in this moment, held here in love now. Now I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. And just imagining the breath arises out of the low belly, and the breath comes in and up to the top of the chest, and it releases and it drops back down again into the low belly. And so just for a few breaths, we're just going to watch the breath come in and up and out and back down again. And observing what all is going on in the chest, the shoulders, the belly, as that breath cycles around. Noticing the chest expand and the shoulders rise. And then the shoulders drop, the belly slumps. And as the breath drops back down into the belly, you have let go. Your body has surrendered that breath. And the body surrenders what it doesn't need anymore. And it makes room to take in the next breath. So seeing that, yes, we do know how to let go. The spiritual or emotional sense of surrender feels exactly like this. An outward release, dropping into a relaxation. Now we're moving into that fourth stage of surrender, in which you continue to watch your breath. And then at some point, just let that release of breath carry you into a place of complete surrender. So in that place, thoughts aren't needed. You don't have to focus your awareness anywhere. There's nothing to do. You're simply carried into this place of letting go, relaxation. If your mind wanders, returning to your breath, or simply noticing your experience. Thank you all so much for being here and practicing with me. If you feel yourself in a place of deep surrender, there's no need to move on from this. Stay as long as you would like. And I would like to welcome Manal, who is here with us tonight. Thank you for coming. And I will see you all next time.